Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I never imagined the end of my engagement would happen in a coffee shop parking lot, with my hands shaking and a diamond feeling heavier than it ever should. I'm Marcus, raised outside Manchester, and until last winter I thought my future was settled. Evelyn and I had been together 4 years. We met through friends, bonded over late-night drives, bad takeaway food, and the comfort of not having to explain ourselves. When I proposed, she cried, said yes instantly, and told everyone she'd never felt so sure. For a long time, I believed her. I trusted her completely. Evelyn was charming, quick-witted, ambitious. She worked in marketing, traveled often, and had a wide circle of friends. I worked in logistics, steady hours, predictable days. We balanced each other, or that's what I told myself when she started coming home later, when her phone became something she guarded instead of left on the table. I didn't go looking for proof. That matters. I wasn't suspicious by nature. But one night, after she'd fallen asleep, her phone buzzed beside me. My name wasn't on the screen. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. In that moment, my life split into before and after. The messages weren't subtle. They weren't emotional or confusing. They were clear enough to remove doubt. Plans, memories, laughter that didn't belong to me. I sat there in the dark, phone in my hand, listening to her breathe, and felt something inside me go still. If this moment resonates with you, consider tapping like so this story can reach others who might need it. I didn't wake her up or confront her right away. I needed time to understand what I felt, because it wasn't rage. It was disappointment, sharp and clean. By morning, I'd made a decision. When she left for work, I took the ring box from the drawer and put it in my jacket pocket. Not as a threat, as a boundary. We met that afternoon at a small cafe near the station. Evelyn smiled when she saw me, leaned in for a kiss, and stopped when she noticed my face. I told her I knew. I didn't raise my voice or list details. I just said I knew, and that it was over. Her face drained, then hardened. She denied it first, called it a misunderstanding, accused me of invading her privacy. When that failed, she cried, said it was a mistake, said it meant nothing. I listened quietly and placed the ring box on the table between us. The sound it made felt final. That's when everything changed. Her tears stopped instantly. She stared at the ring like it had betrayed her. She asked what I thought I was doing. I told her I was giving it back, that I couldn't promise my life to someone who broke my trust before we even started. At this point, I'm curious what you would have done. Share your thoughts in the comments. Her voice rose. People started to look. She said I was humiliating her, that I was overreacting, that engagements didn't end over one mistake. I stood up, left the ring on the table and walked out. I could hear her shouting my name, but I didn't turn around. Outside, my phone buzzed. Messages from her friends, her sister, people who didn't know the truth but had opinions anyway. I didn't reply. I drove home and felt calm for the first time in months. Later that night, Evelyn showed up at my flat. She was furious, not heartbroken. She said I'd embarrassed her and made her look terrible. I told her she didn't need my help. If you've ever experienced betrayal, type the word clarity in the comments so others know they're not alone. She left soon after, slamming the door. I slept better that night than I had in months. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I stopped lying to myself. The meltdown shocked everyone else. It didn't shock me. What shocked me was how clear everything became once I chose self-respect over history. Sometimes the ring isn't a promise. Sometimes it's a warning you're brave enough to return. The days after were quieter than I expected. Not peaceful exactly, but stripped down. No pretending. No waiting for her to come home. No checking my phone and feeling that dull anxiety in my chest. Friends reached out, some carefully, others bluntly. A few asked if I was sure, if I wanted to talk it through with her one more time. I said no. Not because I was angry, but because I was done negotiating my worth. Evelyn didn't stay quiet. Within a week, I started hearing versions of the story where I was cold, dramatic, unforgiving. Apparently, I'd thrown away years over a lapse in judgment. I noticed how the language worked. A lapse sounded accidental. A mistake sounded human. Cheating sounded intentional, so that word never came up unless I said it myself. What surprised me most was how public her reaction became. She posted vague quotes about betrayal and abandonment. Mutual friends sent screenshots, unsure whose side they were on. I told them not to pick one. I didn't need allies. I needed peace. One evening, her mother called. She said Evelyn was struggling, that she wasn't eating, that she'd lost weight. I listened respectfully, then said something that felt true and uncomfortable at the same time. I said her daughter wasn't grieving the relationship. She was grieving the loss of control. The call ended shortly after. I started to notice something else too. People treated me differently. Some with sympathy, some with quiet respect. A coworker pulled me aside and said he wished he'd had the courage to walk away when he was my age. That stuck with me more than any apology could have. About a month later, Evelyn asked to meet. She said she wanted closure. I agreed, but only in public. This time there were no tears, just frustration. She said I'd changed, that I used to be more understanding. I told her I hadn't changed. I just stopped explaining myself. She asked about the ring. Not emotionally, but practically. What I'd done with it. I told her it was sold. The money went into savings. She looked offended, as if the ring still belonged to the version of her who'd never betrayed me. I reminded her that promises don't survive broken trust. When we stood up to leave, she said something I didn't expect. She said she thought I'd fight harder, that I'd beg, get angry, try to win her back. I told her that would have made sense if she'd still been choosing me. She wasn't, so I chose myself instead. That conversation didn't hurt, confirmed what I already knew. I wasn't walking away from love. I was walking away from disrespect. If this story stirred something in you, consider sharing it with someone who might need the reminder that self-respect is not cruelty. It's clarity. Life didn't suddenly become perfect after that. I had quiet nights, awkward moments, and stretches where loneliness crept in. But loneliness without betrayal feels different. It's honest. It doesn't insult you while asking you to stay. I learned something important through all of this. Closure doesn't come from the other person understanding your decision. It comes from you standing by it. People who benefit from your silence will always call your boundaries dramatic. Every so often, I still think about the version of us that almost existed. The house we talked about, the trips we planned. But I don't miss Evelyn. I miss who I thought she was, and that's a loss I can live with. Do you believe cheating is a single mistake or a character reveal? Start a real discussion in the comments. Different perspectives are welcome. If there's one thing I hope someone takes from this, it's this. Walking away doesn't make you heartless. Staying where you're not respected does. Love without trust isn't loyalty. The self-abandonment. I didn't give the ring back to punish her. I gave it back to free myself. And the moment I did, the noise stopped mattering. What people thought stopped mattering. What she felt stopped mattering. What mattered was that I could look at myself without flinching. If you found value in this story, please comment with your thoughts on boundaries in relationships, and subscribe for more real stories about respect, accountability, and choosing yourself when it matters most.